So Andrew Yang's Forward Party has been making some moves behind the scenes, and we have some reporting on that to share with you guys. So let me walk you through it, and we'll talk about it as we go here. So this is in The Guardian. Centrists to launch Forward, new third U.S. political party. Dozens of former Democrats and Republicans to form new party in bid to appeal to voters unhappy with America's two-party system. Now, Andrew Yang has recently sort of fully embraced this notion of like, I'm a centrist and my political party is centrist. That's quite different from the lane that he used to have. He used to have a position of like, I'm running as sort of a leftist-ish Democrat in the Democratic primary in the last election. And, you know, my evidence for that is universal basic income. That was like the main thing he ran on when he ran for president. And the other thing is, on some issues, he did outflank Bernie to his left. For example, drug decriminalization. I think he went further than just saying we should legalize marijuana. I think he talked about how we should decriminalize all drugs, basically. Treat it like a health issue. So, you know, old school Andrew Yang was more UBI focused and was focused on some issues that would outflank the other Democrats to the left. There were some where he was always sort of not great on, like the issue of Israel and some foreign policy stuff, etc. But this new thing he's doing is nowhere near the lane he used to have. So I want to be clear about that. Here's what they say in The Guardian. Dozens of former Republican and Democratic officials will announce a new national political third party to appeal to millions of voters they say are dismayed with what they see as America's dysfunctional two-party system. The new party, called Forward, will initially be co-chaired by former Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang and Christine Todd Whitman, the former Republican governor of New Jersey. They hope the party will become a viable alternative to Republican and Democratic parties that dominate U.S. politics, founding members told Reuters. Party leaders will hold a series of events in 24 cities this autumn to roll out its platform and attract support. They will host an official launch in Houston on September 24th and the party's first national convention in a major U.S. city next summer. The new party is being formed by a merger of three political groups that have emerged in recent years as a reaction to America's increasingly polarized and gridlocked political system. The leaders cited a Gallup poll last year showing a record 2/3 of Americans believe a third party is needed. The merger involves the Renew America movement, formed in 2021 by dozens of former officials in the Republican administrations of Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, and Donald Trump. What? The Forward Party, founded by Yang, who ran for Democratic presidential nomination in 2020 but left the party in 2021 and became an independent, and the Serve America movement, a group of Democrats, Republicans, and independents founded by former Republican Congressman David Jolly. Look, you can't say we are the outsiders who are going to represent the majority of the American people because these two parties don't. And oh, by the way, now we're packing the party full of, and I'll repeat it, former officials in the Republican administrations of Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, and Donald Trump. So the same elitists who drove this country into a ditch are the same people who are going to portray themselves as outsiders and get us out of the ditch? Nah, man. Nah, what the fuck is this? What is this? All right, let's continue. Two pillars of the new party's platform are to reinvigorate a fair, flourishing economy. How? And to give Americans more choices in elections, more confidence in a government that works, and more say in our future. All right, so very concerning. Very concerning what we see here. So let's dig a little deeper. They released their own op-ed. This is in the Washington Post. Opinion: most third parties have failed. Here's why ours won't. So it's by David Jolly, Christine Todd Whitman, and Andrew Yang. So two former I guess, I don't know, Christine Todd Whitman, is she currently a Republican and part of the Forward Party? Because you're allowed to be in the Forward Party and also be registered in one of the two parties, because I think they want to run as an independent, unless they've changed that. I'm not sure. But two former Republicans and Andrew Yang here. So, and I highlighted the part that stuck out to me. The two major parties have hollowed out the sensible center of our political system, even though that's where most voters want to see them move. All right, let me pause there. So this idea of like, look, we have increased polarization. There's people on the far right and the far left, and they're dominating our politics, and that's the problem. So you got to get to the reasonable middle. That is what we're trying to do here. that notion is fundamentally, factually incorrect. The problem with Washington is not like, oh, the extremes are too extreme. The problem with Washington is the corruption. In fact, sometimes there's too much bipartisanship because both parties agree on deregulating Wall Street. Both parties agree on endless war. Both parties agree on illegal NSA spying, for example. So you just flat out misdiagnosed the problem. And this notion that like, well, independents are all in the middle. That's not true at all. There are people who are independents who might lean far right or far left, but just neither one of the parties really speaks to their preferences. So they would always, in other words, they have strong ideological leanings, but they're independent. So it's not like I'm an independent means I'm right smack dab in the middle of the Democratic and the Republican parties. Again, misdiagnosing a number of things here. A new party must stake out the space in between, again, based on a total misunderstanding of American politics. On every issue facing this nation, from the controversial to the mundane, we can find a reasonable approach most Americans agree on. I love this. Now, here's where they dish out straw mans relentlessly. On guns, for instance, most Americans don't agree with calls from the far left to confiscate all guns and repeal the Second Amendment. What prominent figure on the left has called for that? And by the way, even if you can name me one, which I don't know if they can even name one, is that a sentiment shared by a large number of people on the left? In my experience, people on the left are either for some basic gun reforms like banning assault weapons, universal background checks, ban on high-capacity magazines, things of that nature. Either that's their position, or there's even some pro-gun lefties. So let's repeal the Second Amendment. Nobody's running on repealing the Second Amendment. Certainly nobody in Congress wants to repeal the entire Second Amendment and confiscate all guns. That is nothing but a giant straw man. And it's a lazy argument because this is so easily checkable. They continue and say, but they're also rightfully worried about the far right's insistence on eliminating gun laws. Look, I'm not a fan of the right, okay? But even I know this is straw manning their position. Because in my experience, are there some goofy people on the far right who might say, like, yeah, you have a right to a nuke? Sure, okay? But the overwhelming majority of people on the right, their position is just hands off, no new gun laws. Like, I don't even see people on the right calling for the repeal of the ban on fully automatic weapons. We have that right now in this country. There's a ban on fully automatic weapons. You can't get a fully automatic machine gun. I don't even see people on the right talking about, well, we got to get rid of that. So it's just sort of like, don't do anything. That's the position on the right. So for you to say they disagree with eliminating, they're worried. Hold on, let me read it. But they're also rightfully worried by the far right's insistence on eliminating gun laws. Nobody's even saying that, bro. Oh my God. On climate change, most Americans don't agree with calls from the far left to completely upend our economy and way of life. Nobody's ever said that. But they also reject the far right's denial that there is even a problem. That part is true about the far right. On abortion, most Americans don't agree with the far left's extreme views on late-term abortions, but they also are alarmed by the far right's quest to make a woman's choice a criminal offense. Look, the so-called far left, when it comes to abortion, yes, there's a handful of people who say, yes, abortion up until the last minute. In terms of the policy pushed by the Democratic Party and virtually all the elected officials in government on the Democratic side, they say, we just support Roe versus Wade. Our position is Roe versus Wade. So what is Roe versus Wade? Roe versus Wade is the moderate position. Roe versus Wade said in the first trimester, you have a right to an abortion. In the second trimester, you can do some health regulations around abortion, but it still has to be allowed. And then in the third trimester, you're allowed to ban abortion if you want in each individual state. That's Roe versus Wade. That's the position of Democrats. And again, he's just strawmanning it. So, man, what are you doing? What is this? Now, look, I was reading all this and I was like, this is crazy. Let me go directly to the Forward Party website and look at their platform. Because I remember when Andrew Yang announced this, one of the things he said was like, well, universal basic income is going to be one of the main things. It's like, he doesn't have many hard red lines that he draws. Like, you have to support this to be part of the Forward Party. But it seemed to me like universal basic income was one of a few things that, no, you have to support this. Well, let's go take a look. Okay, this is from the Forward Party website. More unites us than divides us. Forward priorities. And by the way, this is under the platform portion, okay? Americans can fix any problem. That is why Forward is approaching a platform differently. The rigid top-down, one-size-fits-all platforms of the outdated political parties are drifting toward the fringes, making solutions impossible. We stand for doing, not dividing. That means rejecting the far left and the far right and pursuing common ground. 3 priorities will unite our broad coalition and serve as the springboard for policymaking by forward party candidates and leaders at all levels. Plank number 1, free people. Revitalize a culture that celebrates difference and individual choice, rejects hate, and removes barriers so that each of us can rise to our full potential. Okay, that literally means nothing. That means nothing. That's a bunch of vague, flowery nonsense with no real substance and meat and potatoes in there. Thriving communities reinvigorate a fair, flourishing economy and open society where everyone can live a good life and is safe in the places where we learn, work, and live. I don't know what that means. None of that is a specific policy proposal. Vibrant democracy. Reform our republic to give Americans more choices in elections, more confidence in a government that works, and more say in our future. On that one, I guess you can interpret it as, more choice in our elections, maybe ranked choice voting or something. I don't know. Ending gerrymandering, something to that effect. So I'll scroll down a little bit more here. So yes, we have, here are the planks. Ranked choice voting. Adopt ranked choice voting systems for all elections. I totally agree with that. Nonpartisan primaries. Adopt nonpartisan primary systems that more people... I'm not going to be able to see the rest of that quote. That's a shame. Okay. Anyway, nonpartisan primaries, independent redistricting commissions. Fair enough. Agree with that. That's all I see on this primary portion of the Forward Party platform. How we're different. Diverse thinking isn't just welcome, it's required. Bottom up, not top down. No purity tests. More listening, less talking. Work together, not against. Grace and tolerance. Our core principles. Free people, thriving communities, vibrant democracy. Look, this is all that's here. There's nothing else here. But I hope you noticed something. This should have popped out to you immediately. Now all of a sudden, UBI is gone. I thought one of the main things to be in the Forward Party, you have to be for UBI. I'm going to endorse candidates who support UBI. That's what I thought Andrew Yang was doing. Now, UBI is gonzo. That was one of the things where I supported Yang the most on that specific policy. Now it's gone. So what's going on here? Look, you got to call it for what it is. What Andrew Yang is doing is something that's already been done a million times over. A million times. This is what, the New Democrat coalition says they are. This is what Blue Dog Democrats say they are. There's a number of movements and organizations and coalitions that already have this lane that Andrew Yang is staking out. We're the centrist, reasonable ones. The Problem Solvers Caucus does the same shit. But where are they actually? Right smack dab in the middle of corrupt Republicans and corrupt Democrats. So they are also deeply corrupt. And they're on a spectrum in Washington, which is way out of touch with the spectrum of the actual American people, which leads to my next point. This is from Sludge, and this is an old thing, too. This is from May 21st, 2021. GOP megadonors fund Andrew Yang super PAC. Almost all of the PAC's money comes from finance industry billionaires who have given millions to national GOP groups. So wait, let me get this straight. You're starting a new third party, and one of your ideas is not, we can't take billionaire money, we can't take corporate PAC money. You're starting a new third party, and you are diving headfirst into the corruption. No, but if you want to give people an alternative, it has to be non-corrupt, or why should they trust you? Why should they believe you? Why should they think you're looking out for them? If you're taking money from billionaires and corporations, you're going to serve the billionaires and the corporations just like every other corrupt politician. So what are you doing, Andrew? What are you doing? It's truly, truly astonishing. It's truly astonishing. So it looks like he's gone full, I'm an enlightened centrist, but I don't even mean that in the good sense of the term enlightened centrist, because there are some aspects of enlightened centrism that I think make sense, but this is I'm going to be in the center of corrupt Washington politics. We're still going to take corporate money. We're still going to take billionaire money. We're going to drop any specific policy substance that the Forward Party is about. Now, look, eventually they will have, and they say that they're going to do it. They will have a platform. They will have more specifics. And we'll evaluate that when it comes out. But as of right now, why would anybody in their right mind sign up for something like this? when they're telling you it's vague, we're doing platitudes, there are no specifics, and we're just going to say, aren't both sides crazy? We should be in the middle of them. Well, if both sides are crazy and you're in the middle of the crazy, you're also crazy. You need an alternative that is non-crazy and, more importantly, non-corrupt, which clearly is not the direction that they're going. So, man, it's a shame. Again, old school Andrew Yang positioned himself as a leftist-ish Democrat. Drug decriminalization, universal basic income. In many ways, he looked at Bernie's platform and agreed with aspects of it. But as time went by, he's gone more and more, let's be more centrist. And let's misdiagnose the political problems in this country and create a group that is just copying a bunch of other groups, like the Problem Solvers Caucus, the New Democrat Coalition, Third Way Politics, New Democrat. I already said New Democrat. We see what you're doing, and we know what this is. And ultimately, if you're not putting those substantive things front and center, like ranked choice voting, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. But if you're not prioritizing substantive things, then nobody should support you. I don't see anything here about unions. I don't see anything here about Medicare for all. I don't see anything here about ending wars. I don't see anything here about ending corruption. Clearly, you're not in favor of ending corruption. So this is just vague, flowery, platitudinal nonsense now. And it brings me no joy in saying this, because I like Andrew Yang. He's a good dude. I think he has good intentions. But ultimately, he's lost his way. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.